Hello, everyone. It's good to be back again. It's been a while on the space, and today we've got an amazing guest speaker joining us today. It's not that person than Bruno Ferrari from Ecuador, right?
Bolivia.
From Bolivia, sorry, from Bolivia. So he run a food bank in Bolivia. He will sharing his story with us today. Once again, I want to welcome all of you to Agritech Founders Diary. You know what we do on this show? We interview Agritech founders who are doing amazing stuff across the globe. Over time, we've interviewed over more than 40 founders so far, and today we've gotten another amazing guest speaker joining us today. However, please, if you are watching on YouTube, do it to subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can go. Do it to share the link to your friends, share it to your community, share it to your loved ones. We need to talk about food security. And the more you share, the more you comment, the more you subscribe, the more subscribe we get, the more we're able to get in more speakers to the space. So, but without further ado, let's jump into it. Tell us about yourself. Let's meet with you. Tell us about everything, where the entire journey of your entire journey started from.
Okay, so I'm from Bolivia, born and raised here. I studied food engineering on in the university here in my city called Cochabamba. The university is called Univalle, and yeah, I started start studying there, and then a few years down the line, I joined the Society of Student Leaders of our university, and
Mhm.
over there is that we started doing some small scale environmental and social impact projects, very small, like fundraising for animal shelters, um, like reforestation attempts. And we were doing this for about 2 years. And after that is that between like the group of friends that was formed of the society is that we started asking ourselves if we can actually have more impact, more than just this secluded and small scale activities that we did, right? So we started looking for different ways, different opportunities. And that's when one of our co-founders heard about the concept of food banks,
Mhm.
and that there are food banks all around the world, but at the time there wasn't any in Bolivia.
Mm.
So that's when we started actually with a little bit of research, kind of to justify the existence of a food bank and the importance of a food bank. Um, and that kind of came to the conclusion that we throw away so much food. There's so much food loss, so much food waste all over the globe, right? But also in our city, Cochabamba. And at the same time, there's just so many people that go hungry every day, right? So food banks are like this initiative that can help reduce both. So after doing some of the research, kind of just planning what we were going to do, we just started it by ourselves as students with our own resources. We tried to contact like some businesses, etc. But at the time, of course, we were very young students, not much experience. Nobody like really trusted us except
I
our
see.
university, because of course we were working with them already for a few years, and they were the first ones to support us. They gave us a very small room on one of their premises to have as a small storage.
Mhm.
They also lended us like their bus once every week so we can go and collect food. um, but we really started small, very, very small, um, just to put numbers on the table and to
Yes.
really show how small we
Yes.
were compared to
Yes.
now. Our first collection day, we collected 87 kilograms
Oh.
uh, of fruit and vegetables on cardboard boxes that we got from a supermarket, and on our own, like, private vehicles. We transported it. To put it into perspective, now we distribute around 30 to 60 tons of food every month.
Mm.
So that's a very big change, and we are very glad that we were able to grow this much in just a few years, because we only have 6 years of
Mm.
operations.
Amazing. How long have you been doing? Have you been running your food bank so far?
What?
How long have you been running your food bank?
6 years. So we started on
Oh
July
my
28th.
God!
Yeah.
You've done an incredible work in the last 6 years. But are you still in school till now? You're done with school.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm done with food engineering,
All
and
right, now let me ask: what inspired you to start your food bank? In 2 sentences, tell us what inspired you to start your food bank, and what problem were you aiming to solve?
so Bolivia is the country in the region in South America that has the highest rates of poverty, extreme poverty, and undernourishment.
Mhm.
Um, Especially after the pandemic. It's like before the pandemic, we were 15% of the population was undernourished. And after the pandemic, we are back to almost 20%. So that's a very big percentage of the population. And that's something we need to work on reducing. And that's one, of course. And the other one is food waste and food loss, right? And by also reducing food waste and food loss, we also contribute to diminish the impact on the environment that the food industry, the food chain has. So it's a two for one, really.
Mm, I see. Oh, that's good. But let me ask, what's been your biggest challenges you face while developing and implementing your solutions? Your biggest challenges you faced.
Yeah, so there
And
were a
okay,
few.
go ahead. I wanted to say, how did you overcome it? Go ahead. I'll ask that along the question. Yeah. So, what be your biggest challenges you face while implementing this solution?
Okay, so there's a few. Um, First, I would say earning the trust
Mm-hmm.
of people, of the food industry, of the wholesale markets, of the farmers, of civil society, because there's always this doubt, right? When someone, I don't know, asks you for a donation or something, there's always this doubt on your mind that if it's actually going to a good cause, and if you don't have anything to show that you are actually using it for a good cause, you hesitate. And that's what happened to us at the start. That's why the only real ally we had was the university. And when
Mm,
we approached like food industry at the start, they just said outright no. So that's one of the biggest challenges. And what we did is just do it little by little, right? So do the first collection of 87 kilograms, post it on social media, then do another one, 100 kilograms, post it again, talk with the sellers of the wholesale market, tell them exactly where that food you're donating goes, um, maybe go into some like TV programs also to showcase our work. So kind of like being as transparent as possible so that people can trust us.
mm,
That's one. Uh, Another one would be the bureaucracy. So at least in Bolivia, bureaucracy is pretty bad, and even for legally establishing a nonprofit is a very expensive and long and tedious process. So that's why it's so difficult. That's why I believe there wasn't a food bank before, and there aren't as many of these initiatives because it is really hard to just establish yourself. So we had support also from our university, and we had a lot of patience. It was a paperwork that lasted around 2 years after we could actually be legally established. And only after we were legally established, we were able to approach again food industries to ask them for their support, right? And once we had those paperwork, now they could trust us. So those are some
Hmm,
of the challenges.
I see. Amazing story. But let me ask you quickly. So you've talked about your challenges, and I think you've also measured some of the ways you're able to overcome it. So, but let me ask you, what are the current and the future challenges or opportunities you are seeing in that space? Now, I think you should measure on the opportunities. What kind of opportunities do you see in the food bank space for young people?
Okay, so these initiatives, like initiatives that take advantage of this food loss and waste to then redistribute it or repurpose it, um, are I won't say common, but they are coming up more and more in the space, because of course there are two very big problems that can be solved with one initiative. One example is the app Too Good to Go, that is very
Yeah,
popular in Europe
yeah,
and the
I know,
United
I know
States.
them.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really good. It's a win-win for everyone, and that's also for food banks, right? Because, for example, the food industry, when they cannot sell their products and they are very close to the best by date, like to expire, it costs them money to dispose of it, to either burn it or throw it away or whatever. So what we provide is the service of going to the food industry and collecting that food. So we are actually like saving them money by them donating their surplus or their products that are close to expire. The same with wholesale markets. They manage such large quantities of produce that goes bad really fast. So if they cannot sell it anymore, they also need to pay money to dispose of it. So that's also the service we provide. And now what we want to focus more on is on farmers, because farmers
Mhm.
have so much loss on their post harvest, and also they have like these products that are not of quality enough to be sold on the market, but are still totally safe to eat. And they lose money. They lose a lot of money. And farmers, at least in Bolivia, they are the ones that receive the least amount of income in the entire food chain. And they are the ones that start everything, right? They're the ones that produce the food. So what we want to do is start to remunerate them to purchase like this surplus they have, and pay for their work, pay for the transport, and at the end of the day, it's still very cheap for us to pay that and then distribute it also to the vulnerable populations we serve, right? And there's so many producers all around the country that could take advantage of this opportunity, and it would be very huge for us because it would mean a lot of increment on the volume of food we recuperate and we distribute afterwards.
Amazing. But let me ask you, Do you guys have a app like good for food? Do you guys have a app that you use? I kind of know a lot of food bank. Because I live in the UK, so I have a lot of food bank that I know of. I know of using Yula, they call the other one. Is a very popular one that's also been used in the UK. They have a kind of a app. So do you guys have a app?
We don't have an app. We have a system.
Okay, what's your system like?
So that's the thing, right? With nonprofits, how do you become sustainable?
That's the next question I was going to ask. How are you building sustainability into what you are doing?
Yeah, so that's the biggest question when you talk about nonprofits, right? And well, it comes from a lot of ways. So of course we receive donations, economic donations from different sources. One of them is, for example, the Global Food Banking Network. That's
Mm-hmm.
like the entity that's responsible of supervising and supporting food banks all around the world. So that's one. We also receive donations from particular individuals. So if you, as an individual, want to donate, you can donate like $5 a month, and that also helps us. But where we receive most income, it's actually from the food we distribute, because we don't donate it for free. And that's very important. We give it at a very, very small price, but it's enough to cover our logistic costs. We call it the recovery fee, and it's around a tenth, like 10% of the real market value of the food we are distributing. So if we give to a foster home, for example, a kilogram of potatoes that on the market is at $10, we will give it at $1. And this has many reasons. One, of course, sustainability. It, it, it lets us be sustainable, but it
Yeah.
also gives value to the food that we are giving, because it happened to us before. At the very start, we didn't charge like this recovery fee, and it happened to us that some of the institutions we served asked for too much food, and afterwards they ended up throwing it away. So it's the same as nothing, right? It's, if our objective is also to reduce food loss and waste, and also to give the most value to this food,
Yeah.
it's a waste, right? So
I
that's another, and it also keeps the sense of dignity to the populations we serve. So
okay.
that's the most of it.
So how do you plan to stay ahead of the curve?
Okay, that's difficult because right now in
Yeah,
Bolivia we are living
I know that's
through.
really difficult. That's a difficult one there. But how do you plan to stay ahead of the curve? Because there's a lot of food bank coming. I guess right now when you move into Bolivia, you are like the first food bank. But I believe right now you're not the only food bank in Bolivia, right? And outside of Bolivia, there's a whole lot of food bank coming to the space, and we are solving a good problem. But how do you stay ahead? Because there's a whole lot of stuffs coming. A lot of young people, a lot of not profit are coming to the space of food banking. So how are you planning to stay ahead of the curve?
So first off is to survive. Right now in
Yeah.
Bolivia, we are having a very strong economic, social, political crisis. It's very complex. It's very difficult. Um, I mean, honestly, like, of course, our objective was to grow, to scale, but at this point, where we want to survive, and we're doing it. We're doing it. We are staying sustainable, but on this crisis, for example, many of the food industries are no longer donating because they aren't producing as much. They are not able to import some of the resources they use for production,
Yes.
um, like even machinery, whatever. Like it's very difficult for everyone, and also like the prices are going up for everything, for food even. So at this point, it's the, I mean, our objective is as big as ever, because uh, the percentages of undernourishment are not going down on this ongoing crisis. So we need to be there, we need to survive, we need to keep going. And that's actually our objective right now, is just to stay ahead of this crisis and to help us as many people as possible that are going through this crisis too, as well as we are. So yeah, it's a very difficult
It's a tough one, I
situation.
understand. Generally, um, generally business is tough. Running a non-profit like yours is also tough. It's not as easy. They say to talk to building sustainability and all that is not really easy. So I kind of understand where you're coming from. I understand the entire point you're coming from. But I just want to ask, what's the vision for the future of what's the vision what's the vision for the future of agriculture, and how does your solution contribute to solving that vision?
Yeah. So as I was telling before, right now also our objective is to work more farmers with the agriculture sector. And that's also one of the reasons. Because of the crisis, we are no longer receiving as many donations from food industry, and therefore we need to compensate it from another source, right? And that's where farmers come in. And they are also suffering from this crisis, and that's when we can come in and we can tell them, I can pay you for the cost of production of your produce, and then we can redistribute it to the vulnerable population. So um, the future I envision after this crisis, after everything, is a more friendly, a more conjoined food sector. Is not like the food industry pushing to their side and the agriculture sector pushing to their side and us in the middle. No, I think we must all push to the same direction. We all want a better country. We all want for Bolivia to not be hungry. We all want to live better. So we need to start joining all those sectors. Maybe we can be the one of the links inside, so that farmers can have better income, so that the food chain is not as long, uh, and therefore everyone can win, right? And we take advantage of all this food loss and waste, and feed the people that actually need it.
Hmm, I see. Amazing. You have a good plan, a good vision. But let me ask you, what's been your lesson as a founder for the past 6 years you've been able to build? I Someone told me if you're able to build for 5 years, you've already breaking even. I mean, you already built some foundations. So you've been able to build for the past 6 years. As a founder, what's been your key lessons that you've learned from building your food bank in Bolivia?
Okay. So it may be a little bit cliche, but of course, perseverance is one of them. And
Mm-hmm.
so persevere, and there will be a lot of downs before you get many ups. And
Yeah.
also be adaptable. Be
Mm-hmm.
adaptable because the circumstances will change, and they will change a lot. You will never be prepared for as many things as will happen. For example, the pandemic, right? Like we started the food bank in 2018. We were just gaining traction, and then the pandemic happened. But when the pandemic happened, many businesses, nonprofits, etc., had to close down. That's when people needed us the most. And that's when they started calling us, okay, we need support. Okay, I have products to donate. Can I donate it to you so you can distribute them? And that's when we just scaled exponentially. We didn't have the resources to manage as much donations as we had. We didn't have the capacity to distribute so much, but we like took from everywhere we could, and that's where the boom for us happened, and that's because we were adaptable and we were able to change with the circumstances. And it's the same as now we are having this economic, social, political crisis, and we need to adapt our strategies to overcome it. And so yeah, be adaptable, be open, be perseverant, and yeah.
That's a good one. I mean, are you in your team so far?
What?
How many are you in your team?
We are 15 right now. We are 15, and that's a very cool data from us, is that all of our team, everyone, each of the 15, we all
Mhm.
started out as volunteers.
Oh,
Like,
I love that.
yeah. So, I mean, at least in Bolivia, there was no one that was an expert on food banking, you know? So we all learned on the road. Uh, like, as founders, we did the volunteer work the first 3 years after we actually got some pay out of it. And all the other workers that are on our team right now that aren't founders, they also started as volunteers because they were committed to the cause, you know. And that I think is very, very important. All of our
Yes,
team is very
yes.
committed to our cause.
I I personally feel my own opinion in running startup companies. In my own, we also I run a startup company, right? Called Agritech Digest. One of the things I've noticed, volunteers, people who volunteer to your team, they kind of commit to the work even than the one that is being paid, because some of them do it for passion. They're passionate about it and they volunteer for it. And over time, I've seen that somehow the volunteers kind of give a lot even than the paid staffs. However, it depends on the context. It depends on, so that's not um, a universal truth. However, I feel strongly that somehow the best way for you to recruit is let them work first as a volunteer, and then when you see their commitment, if they can be committed even as a volunteer, and then when they become a full-time staff, yeah, sometimes they might change, but most times they stay committed because they they came in because of the passion, and not necessarily because of the money we are going to be paid, not necessarily because of any other thing. So that's one point I think. I love that point you shared, really, and I hope the guys, everyone of you listening, you get to pick that up. Most times in terms of recruiting is really difficult, a difficult task, especially as a startup company. It's good you focus on it coming as a what's it called, volunteer. From volunteer they can become a full-time staff. But let me ask you before you finally go, last questions. What's your advice to other startups who want to start food bank like you in other countries? What's your advice to them?
Um, be attentive of all the opportunities that are
Hmm.
all around you, like
Yeah.
worldwide. There are so many opportunities for mentorship, for
Mm.
grants, for support, for advice. There are so many communities already formed that are probably working on the same thing as you want to work on. So, yeah, just don't be shy. Start looking, start asking, start applying. You will get a ton of no's, a ton of failures, but I mean, I applied to over 20, 30 different grants, and I won some,
Mm.
and those some are the ones that matters. It's not that you will apply to the first one and you will win, but you will learn why you didn't win, and maybe the next time you will win that grant. And the same with different communities. I mean, you don't need to be shy. You need to ask for support, especially on this space, this agri-tech space. At least I
Yeah.
found it very friendly, very open, very participative. So just engage with it and you will learn a lot, and you will grow much faster than you think you will grow.
Hmm. That's a good one there. Thank you very much for coming, for granting us this opportunity. Thank you for coming on our show today. Honestly, we've learned so much from you. Thank you for sharing from your experience with us today. And I believe our audience have learned from you. Hopefully, we're going to have you again. Once again, thank you for joining. And to our audience who joined us this evening, thank you for wherever you are joining us from. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Once again, please do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are watching from YouTube. And don't forget to comment, give us a good review if you are watching, if you are listening on podcast. Then if you are listening on YouTube, drop your comment, drop your questions, and then do well to share this to your friends and loved ones around. Till we come again, this is Agritech Founders Diary. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.